The owner now is a no word. As long as animal companions are thought of as property, objects, commodities, and things, they will continue to be chained up. They will continue to be abandoned. In Mississippi, they just leave by the side of the road after they're through hunting, or they have 5 to 6 million dogs, cats are killed every year in our nation's shelters. And until we change the paradigm that people who start thinking we represent people who care deeply about animals, and are part of the animal rights community, animal protection movement, start using the term guardian, not caretaker, but guardian, which means protector. We have a job to protect those animals that we have domesticated and taken to our homes and share our lives with, to make sure they get appropriate veterinary care, they're not chained up, they're fed up properly, and not kept in the yard without food and water, or in climate weather or freezing weather, they're left outside. There's a million things that go on. One obvious one is the chaining thing, but it's one among many. Lack of consciousness until society as a rule, start seeing these animal companions as more than commodities, property, objects, or things, which is what the word owner represents. Their property, their sort of owner. I own it like a table, I own it like a chair. It stems obviously from days of slavery where they owned people and so forth. So until that paradigm spreads out, it has to happen within our community first. It took me 6 months to get it, but it happened to be recognized within my own organization. Oh, this goes back, so what? That doesn't make sense. Now at this point, when we've codified the term, it's now included, codified it so that city governments would include it in their animal-related ordinances. And at this point, there's 17 cities, 16 here in the United States, 1 in Canada, that have incorporated the term. And so now their animal-related ordinances read owner / guardian, or owner and or guardian, or some in 4 cities, I think it's West Holland, Boulder, Colorado, Woodstock, New York. It's simply, they've totally taken away the term owner, and they now just use the word guardian. And when you go to the dog parks there's signs that says guardians must be, guardians must clean up after their animals, and that kind of thing. The word guardian is recognized. And until that paradigm happens, certainly within our own movement, we're not going to get the millions and millions of people that don't even have the consciousness, like the people who think just about chaining up the dogs. They will be embarrassed, and it will slip into the way of thinking. Right now, media doesn't use it, even though media from their own cities, the only place where media uses the term, and it's an accepted term, is in Boulder, Colorado, which is ironically was the first city to take it on. The media refers to everyone as guardians. The dog parks, it's because they threw out the term owner. It just simply says guardian their audiences. So I can't stress enough that unless we change the consciousness, the paradigm, that animals are more than commodities, property, objects, and things, people will continue to chain them. They'll continue to buy them. Being a guardian, when we have a list of what a good guardian is, a good guardian adopts. They don't buy. They don't support puppy mills. They go out of their way to rescue or adopt, to make sure that, to do everything they can to stop the killing of millions of animals in our nation's shelters. And that's all part of the consciousness, the responsibility, that they get adequate veterinary care. There's a whole list of what a good guardian means. And of course, the Veterinary Association and the American Kennel Club that want to see buying of animals from puppy mills and so forth, they have a list of, what makes a good owner. I don't think they say what makes a good owner, you don't chain your dog, but that's what makes a good guardian. So the language is critically important. We have 17 cities across the country, and we're always reaching out to people to take the lead in having it codified in their community. But the cities range from St. Louis, Missouri, to Bloomington, Indiana, to San Francisco, to San Jose, the 10th largest city in the United States, to Woodstock, New York, Amherst, Massachusetts, as I mentioned, Boulder, Colorado, Beverly Hills just came on board just 2 or 3 months ago. So 17 cities, and Windsor, including Windsor, Ontario, Canada. And the reason we decided to try to get it into the cities, including 2 counties, Santa Clara County and Marin County, and the state of Rhode Island. Got it into their ordinances before the Veterinary Association. In those days, earlier on, it was under the radar, as it were. Now, as soon as someone brings it up, the Veterinary Association starts writing letters and threaten to sue the cities. Threaten to sue the cities if they use it. They're so frightened. The biomedical community is so frightened. The agriculture, they see the slippery slope that if you start thinking of a dog or a cat as more than a piece of property or a commodity, then maybe the courts eventually will say, if somebody hurts your dog, that dog has more worth to it, a worth unto itself, as opposed to what you paid for it, or an adoption fee. Because that's what happens now. Somebody abuses your animal, something happens, you get in touch with them, and they'll put you in touch with an insurance company, and they'll simply give you whatever. Here's what you get, because under the law, animals are property. And that mindset will change, and it'll go into the courts eventually, so that animals will be seen from a legal perspective in terms of value, that they are more than whatever you can replace that animal with in terms of value. So I urge everybody who is involved in some way or other, whether you're a rescue group, the Humane Society, anti-chaining, the whole range, to always be thinking and using the word guardian unless you feel it's going to totally destroy your campaign, because it seems too radical. But at this point, for the most part, it's not seen. It's become mainstream in many communities. So that whole thing stretches out, helps stop the puppy mill industry, because again, more people think of themselves as a guardian. They'll be conscious. You don't buy and sell dogs and cats. You adopt and rescue them for 2 reasons: so you can save a life in a shelter, or you don't help fund the puppy mill industry, which is obviously most everyone knows is a terrible, horrible industry. And of course, if you're an activist orientated, there's a lot of protests in many different cities in front of pet stores who sell animals from puppy mills, and we help coordinate some of them, and there's other organizations that do so also. So if you want to help stop the puppy mill and the deaths of millions of animals, you can get involved with us, and we can direct you to other organizations that do protests in different cities and parts of the country. See what I touch on. I mentioned we have Project Hope, which is in rural Mississippi, which is there. This part of Mississippi, there's very little consciousness, or it's growing thanks to Doll Stanley and Project Hope. That when they're through hunting, they just leave the animals run loose, and usually they'll be hit by cars or starved to death. A great lack of sensitivity in some of those rural areas. We have IDA India, which is in India, Mumbai, India, that takes care of the street animals, the dogs primarily, and spays and neuters 10,000 dogs a year, and then sets them back. There's no homes for 10,000, sets them back. It was set up because the government was ready to poison them all. Just put out strychnine poisoning like they've done in other places like Greece and so forth. But this organization was set up to stop that, and they're basically, the government is doing no poisoning because the spay and neuter, it's sort of like spay rescue for cats, for feral cats, rescue release and so forth. It's a similar kind of thing, except they bring them back into the streets of Mumbai, India, where they're fed and taken care of by caring people as well as by IDA India. And of course, you have the situations in some of the Asian countries. We focus on Korea, where animal companions are tortured before they're cooked to be eaten, because there's a belief that if you torture a dog before they're cooked, that you will become more virile. And there's another one against the man that you so these are some of the campaigns that IDA deals with. There's obviously other issues have to do with greyhound racing. You've all seen some of the situation, and you know the deaths that happen from it. And greyhound racing has been strongly affected by organizations against greyhound racing. But there's now a table downstairs showing the terrible things that happen to the greyhound races, the greyhound dogs in Spain. Terrible situation, the way they're abusing them. I guess, let me see if I have some little scratch notes here. Spay and neuter legislation. Again, to help reduce the numbers of animals killed, it's important that you get behind. You could go to our website and go to many other websites that focus on the various legislation that's going to help reduce the close overpopulation of a number of animals in shelters. It's important that unfortunately, because of the lack of consciousness, the lack of guardian thinking, too many people do not spay and neuter their animals, let them loose, and the animals are breeding, and you end up with millions being killed in shelters. If I could read the rest of my scribble, I probably have a couple more things to say. And the bottom line is keeping in mind that you don't sell living beings like pretty much of any species, as far as I'm concerned, whether they're a chameleon, but right now we're talking about animal companions. You don't buy and sell, you adopt and you rescue, and you work with your local rescue groups, you go to your shelters. That should be a mandate of everybody when you, as well as any of your friends, talk about how wrong it is if you go to a pet store and buy an animal or to a breeder, you're turning your back on a dog or cat in a shelter that likely will lose its life because you decided to buy the animal that's in vogue at that particular time. And there's obviously many rescue groups that do focus on pedigreed animals. And of course there's the other aspect of things which have to do with veterinary care. There's a veterinarian in the room, an animal rights veterinarian. I guess I can call you an animal rights. Do you believe in the guardian campaign?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Okay.
And unfortunately, the associations don't, because they feel it's going to have an impact on the economy. But there are many caring veterinarians like Armani who know that if one thinks of oneself as the guardian, protector of an animal companion, you're going to make sure that that dog, and I almost said it, that he or she, let's keep in mind he or she rather than it, gets the appropriate veterinary care and really follows up and makes sure that the veterinarian they're choosing has that sensitivity and caring. But the main thing is gets the appropriate veterinary care. Don't wait till it's too late. And that's all that's tied in with that mindset. And my feeling is we're starting, to change the paradigm of the way we as a species treat other species, whatever species they may be. That to me it seemed to start with the animal companions, where millions and millions of people in this country have a connection with them, and if we can get them to connect in a very positive, protective way as a guardian, as a protector, that will spill over to how eventually they see other species and see them as individuals that deserve respect, to be treated responsibly as the protector, as the guardian of an animal.